It's been good. It's been good. Yeah, we obviously, as I said in the original presser, just trying to complement what we already have, build off of what we already have. So adding a bear has been a good step, and still a few things we're looking at, but we feel really good about our group. Staff's motivated, and the feeling in the building is really healthy right now.
Take us through the thought process and the process overall on bringing in a bear.
Ooh. Yeah, the process was long. As you go through all of it, we had him targeted early on in the process, but you never plan on one thing happening. In our world, you always have to have 2 or 3 contingency plans. So we had our eyes set on him if we were able to get him, but those are always long conversations and process, because usually it takes 2 dominoes to fall. No one really wants to give up a player without having the next plan in place. So. It was really nice. It was wonderful to work with New York City. David Lee is an amazing human being and really well organized out there as well. So the conversations were succinct and sharp, but they took a little while longer than I wanted them to.
What did you like about A-Bear?
Well, where we are with our roster, we want a challenge. We're trying to set up a roster that can have a challenge at every position, and Freddie Montero gave us some goal scoring. He gives us something different in the position, but he doesn't give us something similar. And so being able to give the coaches options on how to approach a game, how to play a game, is really important. We don't want to get to the middle of the year and have the conversation that we don't have options. And so bringing Aver in was really about his qualities, what he brings, what he presents to the coaches, and how to approach games technically, substitution patterns, rotations, all those things, and he's in a really good spot to contribute a lot of minutes as well.
You say you have a couple of are there other key areas defensively or anything like that you're looking at as far as, or is it open?
We're always looking. As soon as we tick one box, we move on to the next, and the job is perpetual. Just as soon as we think we're good enough in this position, we're going to start looking at the other 10. So now that Aver's in, we go back and analyze all other 10 and figure out which one we're trying to improve at. So we're always targeting, we're always watching, we're always trying to improve the group, and that kind of evolves daily as well. The first 2 days it's not going to change, but the first 2 weeks something will pop up where maybe we're stronger in a position than we thought we were with how guys showed up in terms of fitness, in terms of technical ability. We have so many talented players that are still developing, that some of these guys show up light years beyond where we thought they would, and some of them show up a little bit behind. And so the balance of evaluating the first 2-3 weeks is really important in analyzing the next move that we might try and make.
With Jimmy Medranda gone, you're a little short on left back. Is that a position that you're looking into bring somebody in, or is there somebody within the system that can maybe be in that position?
Well, I've been jogging a lot this offseason. No, look, left-sided players, I always joke, it's a unicorn position. There aren't many left-footed, left-sided players that are of the caliber that we're looking for. We're not looking for anyone. We're looking for very specific pieces. And so it's never fun to lose good left-sided pieces and players, but at the same time, it is part of the evolution of who we are and the salary cap and everything we exist in. So you'll never, ever hear me say we are satisfied on the left side of our team. We'll always be looking at left-sided players. They're the hardest to find, hardest to get, and hardest to develop as well. And so, that list, even back to Jada's question, like that list will always grow.
From your seat, Craig, what's been the biggest challenge of getting ready for an actual competition that's 3.5 weeks after training camp opens?
I think the biggest challenge is the fact that we only have 4 weeks to prepare for an official match. But, from my seat, that's pretty easy. I'm not going to be sitting on the sideline. I'll be sitting upstairs watching it like everyone else. The players have come in. They were remarkably responsible this offseason. I'm sure Brian touched on it. Our performance staff, our training staff did an amazing job with our group. Our players did an amazing job this offseason. The numbers that we're seeing over the first couple days are impressive in the way they took care of themselves. They obviously got the proper rest, but they also got the proper fitness on their own and assisted by our group. So hardest part is usually base fitness, especially we're talking 4 weeks. 4 weeks, and then we jump into 90-minute games against highly competitive teams. That's going to be hard to manage, but laying the groundwork and, you know, I think our staff is excited. I think the players are excited. I think right now the fact that we do have these games is also probably got the excitement level and the work rate a little bit beyond where it might be otherwise if it was a seven week run.
How confident are you that the players who are going to have a significant role in the Club World Cup are already on track?
Oh, I like the way you worded that. I like our group, and I like our core, and I like our developing players as well. And I'm consistent in saying that not because I'm trying to fool anyone. I'm consistent in saying that because I think we do have enough talent to compete. You know, I'm not going to make an absurd or obscene statement that if we were to advance and play Real Madrid that we're going to match up man for man. But at the same time, you know, we like our group, and we're going to look to add because, I mean, frankly, that's our job. And the coaches are never satisfied, which is good. Keeps us on our toes. As soon as we brought Bear in, I think we got 10 minutes of handshakes, and then it was, okay, well, what's next? And so we'll continue to look. But I think from the group you see today, that'll be the core we see in a month.
Based on your expectations going into the offseason, has the league been more active or less active than you kind of expected? Trades, signings, that kind of activity?
It's an interesting market, not only domestically but internationally. You know, I thought following the World Cup we'd see a lot more movement. It's typical after a World Cup to see a ton of movement internationally, domestically. We're starting to see some trades over the last 4 or 5 days as we got a little closer, and I think reality set in on everyone on what the rosters look like. But I was caught off guard with how little movement there's been worldwide, to be fair. I mean, there hasn't been a ton of teams looking to move their players, and I think nobody knew what to expect with the Winter World Cup, and it's had a remarkably interesting effect on the winter transfer window around the world.
You talked about the emerging talent that you have, and also that you're not afraid to use the loans for some of that, or selling options as well. When would you expect to make some decisions on whether you move some players, young players, elsewhere for loans or transfers?
Yeah, I won't often guarantee you guys anything because you'll hold it against me. But we will have some movement. I mean, we need our developing players must play soccer to get better at soccer. That's fundamentally just has to happen. And we can't get caught up in thinking that we're going to develop every player just out here on this field. And so we'll have a little bit of movement. We'll have some players going out. Probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have 1 or 2 guys going out because games are the most important thing right now in a lot of these young men's lives and careers. But we won't have many loans that have exit strategies, if that makes sense. We're not going to loan guys right now with the idea of having them never come back. You know, the ideas we have right now with our developing talent is put guys in places to continue to develop on the field and then return better players for us.
You have, there's a couple reports, Danny Leyva down to one of the Liga MAX's teams,
Yep.
And then also if you could talk about whether Christian Roldan has signed a contract extension.
Well, you guys will learn. I love Rumours. I also learned that I sold Nuhu to Lille for like $4 million, which I thought was super impressive. Was it 8? See,
Oh, that's a deal.
just impressed myself again, right there. So
That's a deal.
I mean, rumors are fun to talk about. I'll spark some for you at times, but it's hard for me to address them because the truth is, deals can be in the middle, they can be in the end, but until they're signed, they're not relevant in my world. So I try to stick away from them. But look, every once in a while, I'll throw a bone and lead you guys down a path. There was some good research done this offseason, and the last little tidbit I had, because you guys had the right name on paper. We just didn't get there with the player. Unfortunately, he was as good as we thought he was and made the made the World Cup team, and then his viewpoint changed. But there's going to be rumors surrounding our players, and we are a relevant team. We're a very good team. We have a lot of good players, and hopefully there are always rumors.
So is there, like with that, are you picking at a bone that deals with Danny, or?
No, not necessarily just Danny.
Okay.
Speaking of which, can you talk about the Dineno, the Pumas player?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love if he would call me. He's a pretty darn good player. Look, we obviously saw him firsthand last year, and so anytime we can scout all we want, we can travel around the world and watch players, but when you get to see him against your own team, it always piques interest, and you can follow that trend anywhere in the world. Champions League and Europa League and Copa Lib and these tournaments, you see players transfer internationally a lot of times to teams they've played. And so exposure is everything. And we're no different. I call it the camp crush. You get to meet someone for a couple hours on a Saturday night, and Dineno's pretty good every time I've watched him anyway.
So that door is still there.
I'm not shutting it.
How is is there a change in vibe or communication because y'all, the top leaders of the organization, are Washington based? Is there anything to that?
We eat more apples. That's one thing we're dedicated to. Fruits. No, I don't think there's a big change. I mean, look, Garth was, because he's now in charge of an organization, but he was the best general manager this league's ever had. I've said it times before, I'll say it forever. There is no person that comes close. And so inevitably, there are changes because I'm not Garth. But those aren't necessarily all good or all bad. We're evolving, and I think we're having a good time with it. I think the vibe right now, for as far as I've seen and what I've heard in the locker room and in the coach's office, is everyone's really looking forward to this part of the evolution. It's never fun to lose, quote unquote, the best in anything, but now it's time for a few more of us to step up and pull on the string a little harder. So I don't think anyone has any fear about the objectives. The fan base and the media in Seattle keep us pretty darn honest in what we're supposed to accomplish. So.
Is there a positive, not a positive, but having the break or a change in the front office, and then also needing to get back to the playoffs? Is there a benefit in that quicker than maybe most, you can make a stamp on the team or on the organization as far as getting you guys back there with a good roster?
Double-edged sword whenever you get a break. The players that went to the World Cup didn't get too much of a break. Coaches and the other guys got a lot of a break. And it's the first long break I think a lot of these coaches and players have had. For me, I had a pretty worthwhile sabbatical in between my stops before I came to Seattle, so I've been well rested, but I think they've all caught up to me now. I think just having the chance to have 2 or 3 weeks to themselves, to their families, to not have to spend in a small little room talking about what we're trying to accomplish has been really healthy for the players and the coaches. And I think we're seeing the emotional and the mental benefit of it right now. The first couple days have been more lively than I've been a part of a preseason in a long, long time. I think that has to do with the fact that we had some extended time off, but I don't want to celebrate that extended time off or try and have it again. So I'm glad we got it this year.
I'll give you a softball here.
I like softball.
Christian Roldan, if reports are accurate that he's signed a long extended deal, what do you see from him in terms of what he provides on and off the field and as a player, not just for today, but for an extended period of time?
Well, I can talk to the fact that I was an assistant coach at Washington when we recruited Christian from Southern California. I saw Christian play in a high school game when we were recruiting him. So we go way back. His qualities go beyond the soccer field. There's a lot of leadership. There's a lot of lead by example with Christian, along with many of our other guys. 2 of the guys at the front of the running the last 2 days are Nico and Christian, and both of them have a lot of qualities in common. there's so many good players, good people in this group that it's hard to single any of them out. To be completely honest, and that is not something I'm lost on. And in most teams, it's a lot easier to pick one person out. But I'll tell you, if I did single Christian out, he'd probably lecture me, because he'll be the first one to tell you this isn't about him.
So to throw in another rumor that's been
Love
circling
rumors,
around,
man.
right?
Let's go. Let's dance.
Some reports were saying that Christian and Jordan are looking for DP contracts with their new contract extensions. That I just wanted to know what your take is on that.
Well, there's about 25 of us standing here, and if any of you want to raise your hand, if you get paid more than enough, or if you think you're worth more, I think more hands would go up. I think we all have the same attitude. Anyone who works honestly and works hard believes they're worth more. We're in a salary cap world, and there's things to negotiate, there's things to agree on. At the end of the day, this is about finding what's right and finding the right balance for the club, for the player, for the person. Mostly, we have to find what's right as human beings, because if we can't show up to work every day happy, then we're not going to accomplish what we need to, individually or as a group. So I think every player in our locker room, every staff member we have, myself, would tell you we work hard enough to justify a raise. But at the same time, we happily agree to be here. When we make that agreement, when we shake hands, we show up and do our job. And that's what defines this organization. You can ask Schmetz, man. You show up and try not to do your job when he's your coach. Find out how quick that ends.
Thank you.
Anything else, guys? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Craig.
Yeah,
Good
you bet,
answer,
guys.
Craig.